as much as there's so much positive, there's also the negative, and a lot of the times people are only looking at one. They're not looking at both ends of the spectrum. And one of the stories that a lot of people might recognise is that if they've got a dog and the dog's barking, you've got these collars that send out a frequency that will stop the animal from doing the behaviour, the unwanted behaviour. And like, if we can do that for animals, they're already doing it to us humans. One of the tasks I gave him after that first session was to change the music that he listened to, and it had an immediate impact on the nervous system, on the anxiety that's feeling. The next task was not, looking at news sites daily, and those two, what seem simple, or like the massive impacts on the nervous system, which then all the bigger changes were able to occur, the deeper. I really do believe that sound is probably the biggest sense linked to soul. Welcome to the Life by 8 podcast. Today we have Kylie Bell. Welcome. Excited to have you here. As always, our podcasts start with one word. And so our word is sound. So tell me about yourself. Tell me why the word sound.
Beautiful. So I am a mum of two. I have two beautiful boys, teenage boys. And I run aerial sound baths in Burleigh, and it's been a long journey to get to that position because I have been doing hair and makeup for over 25 years now. So I've been in the beauty industry for that long, and what led me into sound was my own healing journey, which I started. So that started with doing NLP, doing hypnosis, like doing all of the things, and then eventually along that line I got to sound and breath work, and they were the two things that really made a huge impact on my healing journey. And yeah, I did a sound healing certification and was like, wow, I really want to birth my own. I want the world to know about this. This is the one thing that's helped me move stagnant energy within my body. And sound has actually always been a huge part of my life as well. I have a deaf brother, so I grew up with a deaf brother. So unbeknownst to me, I've always had that connection to sound around me, and now it's like full circle coming around, and now doing my own sound healings for people as well. So yeah, it's quite ironic really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do you think sound will serve humanity with what we're going through collectively at the moment?
I think sound is a huge thing that is going to explode in the next, say, year or so, as a huge healing modality for people and for us as humans in our human skin to be able to heal ourselves and not have to have pushing so much outside of ourselves and looking for external help to be able to heal ourselves. I think it's really going to bring us back into really utilising these tools and to be able to heal ourselves. Yeah, so yeah.
Great. How does sound work on the body? How does it heal?
So I don't know if you've jumped on YouTube or anything. There's lots of videos going around where they put the sand.
We'll put some in the show notes.
Yeah, where they put the sand on vibration boards or whatever, and allow the music to play, and it turns into geometric shapes and everything like that. And our body is made up of 70 to 80% water. And what happens when you play the sound bowls or when you're listening to different frequencies is it actually changes us on a cellular level. So it travels through us, which for me, I found in my healing journey was a thing that I could just sit back, relax, take me out of my mind because I was constantly in my head, and allow sound to just pass through my body, and whatever was stuck or stagnant, it will allow that to just shift in such a gentle way, without having to do a technique or do something or be stuck in the head going, am I doing this right? What am I doing? For me, that's been a big part of my journey, is getting out of my monkey mind, getting out of my head and getting back into my body. So I love that now I get to gift that to others and basically say to them you don't have to have no fear, no anxiety or anything. You just imagine you're laying down on the floor in your bed and just come and relax and allow the sound, the healing vibrations from the sound bowls to just wash over you and wash through your body. And the effect that has on so many of my clients is amazing to see, when they come in and then when they leave, they go in a completely different state. It's just such a beautiful thing to be able to gift people with.
How has sound been weaponized against humanity in the past?
I think it's been used without our knowing for a very long time. I think it's still getting used. They'll use different frequencies and sounds and place them into our world without us even realising that they're there. And this is something that I would love to deep dive more into now I'm creating different courses and stuff. I was only just having a conversation with one of my girlfriends about the beauty industry and how I'd love to create something for the beauty industry within sound and then bring the beauty together, because even as a hairdresser we don't realise the sounds and that are constantly around us in the salon that affect our nervous system. And that's the same as like in everyday life. There's so many sounds in our everyday life that we don't realise is actually affecting how what state our body sits in. So yeah, I think in the past it has been weaponized. I think in the future with AI coming, it's going to be weaponized even more. So, but I do think that there's a flip side of that too, and it can be used in such a beautiful way as well. Even yourself, like Rebecca is my mentor as well, and she's used it with myself for coaching, creating songs and stuff to really help move anything that's kind of stuck in your body to be able to release it.
Yeah, so. and I think that there's obviously with everything there's like the positive and the negative. There's like the polarity of both things, and one of the important pieces for us when on the Life Behaviour podcast is, you know, looking at it from neutrality where possible. So in NLP I love perceptual positions. I love the third position. You know, you've got one side, the other side, and then you've got the neutral observer. And so as much as there's so much positive, there's also the negative.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times people are only looking at one.
Yes.
They're not looking at both ends of the spectrum. And so I'm glad to hear, like...
I think sounds very underrated. Like, I don't think it's
definitely.
really
it's like
been...
second, third down the line. Like, it's not what people look at.
No, it's just such an unconscious thing that plays out in the background that people now are starting to realise, like, how much it does affect their state and their environment around them. But for such a long time, it has been something that's been pushed away. And I do believe that that's been done on purpose because, you know, years ago we used to have the big bells in the churches, and now they've been taken down, and that used to create such a frequency within those cities and communities that was a healing, healing those, you know, cities and communities. And now a lot of that stuff has been taken away, and nobody's really questioned why. And I think that there's a deep... there's lots of things unknown about sound. And I went to Egypt last year, and that was kind of a really pivotal point for me as well, even with sound. Walking into the temples, feeling the energy, hearing music playing in temples, and the other people were like, I can't hear anything. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, there's a whole nother side to that. But yeah, I definitely think it's underrated. It's something that is starting to birth, and more people are becoming awakened to it. But yeah, I do think in the future it's going to be a very easy thing to be able to utilize to be able to heal.
Yeah, well, there's like, we talk about noise pollution, and if you have smartwatches and things, it'll pick up, like, you know, it's too loud, or you've had too many hours at this frequency that is damaging your ears. But I also think, like, one of the stories that a lot of people might recognize is, like, if they've got a dog and the dog's barking, you've got these collars that send out a frequency that will stop the animal from doing the behaviour, the unwanted behaviour. And, like, if we can do that for animals...
They're already doing it to
They're
humans.
already doing it to us for humans. And there's a movie on Netflix, I think it's called Leave the World Behind. And I think Barack Obama is one of the producers on it. But in the movie, there's, like, this frequency that they send out, like, nationally, like across the US in the movie, that like has people's ears bleeding and exploding and things like that.
Yeah, I have seen that one.
That's totally possible.
Well, what's the easiest way to eradicate like a huge amount of people or a population?
I don't know.
Would be the easiest, like, sound. Like, we all have mobile phones, don't we? So yeah, there's a... Like, we could deep dive on this conversation.
We could totally, but, you know, like, we have a certain amount of rabbits available.
Yeah.
But I guess using in day-to-day language for people, and by the time this is out and whatever's going on in society at the moment, you know, we speak about you being NLP trained as well. It's
Mhm.
like your words create your reality.
Yes.
A lot of people's first conscious awareness or experience of sound outside of like being a baby and your mum's voice and all of these things is music, right? And the lyrics that are in music and how that, you know, programs and how that helps us create stories, create narrative, but also express emotions, all of those type of things. And so what are your thoughts in regards to the type of music? And the comparison I want to give you to comment on is our generation grew up with Disney movies, with like the narrative of, you know, there's always one parent who dies in each of the Disney movies. And so we feel a certain way, and then, you know, we have this romanticized idea of what a love or relationship should look like, needs to look like. The hero's journey they go on in those movies. How do you perceive music from our generation, and we're in our 40s, versus what's out and happening nowadays? How's it impacting us?
The music that we have these days?
Yeah.
For our I see it with my children. I have 2 teenage boys.
Yeah.
And the things that they listen to sometimes can be really quite concerning, quite dark. And it's interesting seeing their state before they start listening to something, and then what it's like afterwards, or their behaviour. And this is a great one, I think, for mums, which is untapped as well, is looking at the noises and the frequencies that are within the household that can then be creating certain behaviours with our children that we're even unaware of. And that's been a huge thing for myself. But both my sons are quite audio as well. So sound has a big play on what happens within our household, and it's a great way of breaking state when they do get into not great behaviours as well. But yeah, I think some of the music that's out at the moment is crafted for a particular reason, to then put people into certain states, to keep them more into states of lower frequency. So it is something like coming back to NLP, to be really mindful of what we allow into our ears and what we allow our children to listen to. But yeah, definitely, I think, like, be really conscious of what you're allowing in between your ears.
There was one client I was working with, and when he first started with me, I asked, like, I get an idea of what clients consume.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was going onto news websites like each day, and he would listen to like metal music in the car, and like he loved it and his boys loved it, but the anxiety that he was feeling on a day-to-day basis, he was also neurodiverse, and one of the tasks I gave him after that first session was to change the music that you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And it had an immediate impact on the nervous system, on his nervous system, on the anxiety that's feeling. The next task was not, looking at news sites daily, like every time you had a break at work. And like those two, what seems simple, or like, that doesn't have a big impact.
Things,
yeah. The massive impacts on the nervous system, which then all the bigger changes were able to occur, the deeper transformation.
We see that so much with social media.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously what you look at, then the algorithms will to keep showing you more of that. And I've even had to like scroll myself out of like rabbit holes and going, oh, I need to stop looking at all this worldly stuff that's going on, because it then does start to affect your state. So it's the same with Instagram and Facebook and all of those platforms as well, that if you get stuck on the scroll hole and you're listening to the same things all the time, it can be the sound from that as well that then triggers certain things in your body. So.
And so like it's as much about taking things out, like stopping consuming certain things, as much as it is about starting to consume certain things as well.
Opening up your awareness as to, because a lot of people, like we said before, don't even realize or stop to think about the sounds that they're allowing to come into their world.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's just an autopilot. Like, you get on your phone, you scroll, you don't really think about, oh, what sound is this like producing, or what frequency is this sitting on. People don't really think of those things. It's kind of like a hidden thing in the background that they don't really consciously really think of. Yes. Even our voices, like the words that we say, there's certain they all hold a vibration to them.
Yeah,
so
the tonality.
The tonality of like when you speak to your child, you're like, if you talk to them like this and you're nice and calm, you're going to get a different result than if you start yelling at them.
Unless they are neurodiverse, sometimes you've got to create the urgency.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's the fact is like, and an experiment that I just recently did, which is a big project of mine personally, was the making of her. And I'd wrote poetry growing up, and so I created the songs because it was on my list to create a song and get it published. I ended up doing a whole album because AI, was at that state of allowing that, or creativity was so much more possible in regards to the production. But what it was is, in coaching and in psychology and therapy, we talk about like top down and bottom up approaches. So like the top down being like talk therapy and those sort of things, NLP. And we talk about bottom up approach being like breath work, sound healing, like things about the soma, the body.
Yep.
And I was like, if we talk about chakras, like here, the throat is like, this is the bridge between the heart and the mind. Mm-hmm. And so yes, our words create a reality, but our words typically come from our mind. And there's a whole different podcast in that one. But what I was experimenting with, because it's like NLP and breath work and sound healing and all of this, it's like if everything's connected, if the universal law of oneness, if everything's connected, how do we bridge the gap between the mind and the heart, the body and the mind, mind, body, soul? And I'm like, it's the senses. Like this is my own belief. So it's the senses. So the making of her was like, there was the written, which had nostalgia because it was from my teenage childhood. So it was the words that I used to express the emotion that I was feeling at that time. Mm-hmm. But that emotion, yes, I might have healed it on a talking point. It was still in my body in parts. Yeah. How do I release it from the body? I have done breathwork trainings. I have done all these different things, except dance. And now I have one or two too. But the moving of the body, the somatic piece of that work to that music that I created was deeper than if I was dancing just to somebody else's song that they created. Like there was this real, it was an experiment in regards to all of our senses, smell, touch, taste, sound, like every sense in that experience. And what does that mean in regards to the bridging of, or the integration of everything? And it's what you were talking about before, is like something that I've experimented with clients over the last sort of 12 months is, when relevant, whatever is processed in a session, can that be then expressed in music, in sound, for the somatic remainders of that process to be integrated?
Yes. And for some people like myself, who was quite like auditory. It was amazing. Like you sent me a song to listen to that was from our coaching session and was profound. So I sobbed, I cried, like whatever had to come up and release, like came up and released through that moment. And this is where I think it can be so freaking powerful, because it can be utilized as a tool for that, for people who may have done everything, and that was like myself. I've kind of got to this point where I've done all the modalities and that, but there was a part of me that still felt a little bit stuck in certain areas, and I just couldn't really put my finger on what it was. But I knew that sound had a profound part of my journey to then like really bring things to the surface. For me, sound's a huge thing that brings things to the surface. So I know that if I'm like that, there's got to be a lot of other people out there too that have gone through the same healing journey, where they've done all these things and there's just like something that they can't quite put their finger on. And for me, it's been about staying in my body. So I knew that it was something somatically that had to move through me. And sound has been an awesome way for me to be able to do that as well. And then now bringing it in different ways, in bringing it through in song, in music, in words that are created for that specific person is like so freaking powerful.
Mm-hmm. And that's the piece where I think is going to be how sound takes off in regards to a modality or an understanding of, like people being able to make sense of the impact that sound has, because sound is so, I mean, Pavlov's dogs, like the whole theory of the psychology is like we ring the bell, they saliva. Like, we go to school,
Yeah.
we know the first bell means get into class, the second bell means it's little lunch, the next bell is big lunch. Like, sound is used so much in our programming. When you tap your credit card at the shop, you'll know whether it went through, or you'll know the different sound if it's declined.
Yeah.
You get into the lift, you know, if the door's closed. Like, there's all these different things that are creating the life and the routine that we get into.
Yeah.
That we want to become more conscious of it. And I think that this integration, or how can we utilize, you know, sound to bring the mind and the body together. And I really do believe that sound is probably the biggest sense linked to soul. Like,
yes, I honestly believe that as well. And I think that's why it has such a profound effect when it's done in a beautiful way, like you did with the music and the song, creating songs for your clients.
Yeah.
And even for people that are maybe not scared, but are like, I have had clients come to me like, I'm not sure whether I should come to a sound healing. Like, is it okay for me to come? I think that sound healings are a beautiful starting point for people to come in, because it's such a gentle way for them to experience sound, which is why I created my aerial sound baths. It was something to just get people out of their head and create spaces as well that are aesthetically beautiful and that touch on all their senses. So it's not just about sound. They walk in and they can smell, you know, different smells. They look at the visuals of the place, and they get a feeling like a beautiful, I suppose, rush of emotions that come in just when they walk in, and that already drops them straight into their body, so they can not accept that they can then allow the music to, and the vibrations from the bowls to make them feel safe, and then to relax it into the healing vibrations of the bowls. So yeah, I definitely think that sound in the future is going to be a phenomenal thing that that people are unaware of quite now. They're just not conscious of it. I think it's more a conscious thing. And like you said, once people start becoming aware of more of the different sounds all around us and how that plays into our different patterns and different behaviours that we fall into as well. And it's not just, I think a lot of the time we think that there's something wrong with us, that we've fallen into these things. Sometimes it's a mixture of all of these things, and sound has a big part to play in that as well, with our traumas and stuff like that as well in the past. So it's definitely a beautiful thing to deep dive into.
It being one of the four main representational systems on how we take in data, like in our experiences. It's like why you can hear a song and you can tie it to an emotion, to an event in your life, to a memory.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big piece. And so I'm excited for more people to be talking about it, but and experiencing it. But in regards to somebody who might be resonating with this and going, you know, like in my practice, in my work, whether I am a hairdresser, whether I am a coach, whether I am a parent, a mum, where do they start? Like, as in, what is your sound certification? Like, what does that give somebody? Why would they do that?
So
how does it support?
There's different ways that I work with people. So one way is like the entry level is kind of coming to one of my events, which is the aerial sound bath. So lots of people will start off that way. They'll just get a feel to what sound healing is, what it does to their body, how it makes them feel relaxed, and the effects that they have coming out of it, how it changes their state from coming into then leaving. And then the next step from there is a lot of people will then either come to, that's like a smaller event, then we're running bigger events where I'm collaborating with different other people as well. I've got one coming up on the 17th of May, which is collaborating with a psychic as well. So she's coming in to do some readings. And then from there I'm creating, and we'll be launching my sound healing certification, which I'm kind of aiming it at everyone, but I'd really love for mums to jump on board this, because for me, what I've found along my journey is that sound can play a phenomenal role in our role as mothers and within the household. And it's something that, like we've spoken about, is really overlooked. And the certification, it's different, I suppose, in the sense of like a lot of other certifications where you're just going and you're learning how to play the bowls, you're learning the instruments, you learn a little bit of a history. For me, I want to deep dive into a lot more than that, and it's how it affects your nervous system, how it affects your body, tools that you can learn
from the certification to use in your everyday life, because I think that's kind of the gap, is like, where, like you said, where do we start? What? And it gets to be simple things. So people may come in and think, oh my God, this stuff's so simple. However, like you said before, like making a simple change is just changing the music that you're listening to on the daily can have a profound effect on the way that your week pans out. You know, things like getting up in the morning and the first thing you do is grab your phone and you start listening or scrolling through it has a huge effect on then how your day plays out. Your alarm that you use in the morning to start your day with, is it beeping, or is it, you know, beautiful music that's coming out? Like, is it shocking your system when you first wake up, or is it actually like bringing you out into a peaceful, beautiful space? So like little things like that is great to start with. Just switching little habits at home make a profound effect. I love doing intuitive writing as well, and I found that like a beautiful thing that's helped me along my path as well. And even having frequency and music's on why I'm doing that helps me release a lot more that's stuck in my body as well. So there's lots of little things within that certification. There'll be like, yes, learning how to play sound bowls and all of that. But there will be other aspects to it as well that we're going to do deep dives into things. So I want people to actually come out of this certification and then go and like want to start their own business and get sound out there to the masses, because my reasoning and my mission for doing this is to awaken people to how much sound plays on our reality in our world, and to be able to just gift people this beautiful thing that they already have. They just are not utilizing it in a better way. I think is just a beautiful thing to be able to spread that out to humanity. So yeah, for me it's just really, it comes back to it's a soul mission for me. I know that there's a deeper, I haven't figured it all out. I'm following the steps. It's really trusting my intuition, which has led me to, from hairdressing, pushing me along this journey and then going, no, you're supposed to be doing sound. Like, how can you get your clients? My clients were coming in, and every 6 to 8 weeks they'd sit in my chair and the same problems would be coming up, and they'd leave feeling amazing. So I'd give them that instant kind of dopamine hit, and they'd have their hair done, their makeup done, they'd feel and look amazing, but then they'd come back and they'd be stuck in the same place that they were before. And I was like, how can I shift my clients from where they are to actually, like, they can voice it and they can talk about it, but there's that somatic like movement and that needs to happen as well. And I found with a lot of my clients, I'd send them through a little meditation or send them through some frequencies for them to listen to as they were going to sleep. And even those little steps were making a profound effect on the way that their days were playing out. So that's kind of how it started and pushed me into sound more. Yeah. But yeah, I don't even know if I've gone off on the tangent.
Yeah,
now.
it's fine. That's what we do here. Random question. What is the sound that irritates you the most?
Oh, what is the sound that irritates me? As a mother, I would say, I was only talking about this to a girlfriend the other day, I am probably quite sensitive to a lot of sounds. So when I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to cook and then my kids are having a loud conversation and there's music going in the background and all the things are going on, for me it's just too much. I'm just like, okay, everyone just shut up. Yep. Like, everyone be quiet. I can't even think of like what I'm supposed to be doing in the cooking right now. So for me, it's more not a sound, it's a combination of sounds that are then like compiled together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing, is people don't think about it. They might think, oh, that one sound that really irritates me, but it might not just be one sound. It might be a combinations of sounds that you've heard throughout the day that then gets you into this state by the end of the day that you're like depleted or angry or frustrated or whatever it is. So that's something that I've kind of been deep diving into as well. Is like, wow, how does, all of these sounds, when they're all pushed together or they're all, there's lots of things going on, how that affects our mind, our body and our spirit, and then the environment that we're in and the people around us. So,
yeah. For me specifically, it's the overhead thing over the oven. I can't handle, and like when that's left on, it's like drives me crazy. I could feel it in my body. It affects.
Actually, now that you've said that, my RoboVac drives me nuts.
Yeah. It's like there's like a specific thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I was going to mention was a few months ago, my husband and I went to a silent retreat, and it was 4 days, 3 nights, and you didn't talk, and it was like, it's in nature, so this silent retreat is more about talking and engaging with other people. You didn't do that until the end of the last day. And I noticed like, oh my goodness, it was harder than I thought it would be. But I loved it and I crave it. And I can remember the feeling in my body leaving there and then getting closer and closer, like it was down the coast. So like closer and closer to the Gold Coast, like into Suburbia and then into the city part. And like I could literally feel it in my body, the difference, even the traffic noise. Like, yeah, when you have come from silence to in that extent, and it wasn't complete, like there was birds and stuff, so it wasn't a complete deprivation. But from that silence and then coming into busyness and you notice the vibrations, you notice the frequency, you notice the sound, and you notice its impact on your nervous system. Yeah. That was a huge realization for me about the impact of sound.
Yeah, that's massive. I've noticed that myself, and I think as a mum as well, like that's where sometimes you crave silence and you crave the stillness.
Yeah. Like, you should be sleeping, but you want the silence when they're all asleep.
Yeah. And then you have days where it's just like having boys. I don't know what it is with boys, but I have 2, but sometimes it sounds like I have 20 in my house. They're just loud. And then I think coming from a European home too, like having a European background, everything's loud. Like they don't talk normally. Everything is like very loud, like even their actions. Like I remember when I was younger and my mum would walk down the hallway, we could hear her from like the other end of the house. We knew when she was coming just because the footsteps were so loud. So I've always grown up with like that loud, so I crave silence, like
the opposite.
That's the opposite. So I think I would love a silent retreat too, but then I'll definitely notice the difference. I notice the difference in that in my own world, like when I've got the house to myself and I'm home, and then that shift as soon as the kids walk in or my husband walks in, or all of that. So even just slight changes like that, like start being aware of like how your body feels when you're sitting in, like when you're home by yourself, as opposed to then when your environment kind of shifts a little bit or things come into your environment. It's really good to open up your awareness to even how you feel when someone's talking around you. What does that do to your body, their tone, the words that they're saying, and that can sometimes be a good indication to your intuition too, like whether you're supposed to be in that area or that place or with that person. And I think sometimes we dismiss that. We dismiss it a lot.
And with the rise of like autism diagnosis and ADHD and neurodiversity, I think a lot more people are becoming aware of sound, because they're like, oh, he's wearing a sound cancelling earphone, he must be autistic, like these comments. But it's like, and the Woolies having like a silent hour of shopping. Like people are becoming in the mainstream more and more aware of the impact of sound and our senses on our nervous systems.
And I think because we've gone from, there's been such a huge difference from like where we've came from, I suppose. Like if you want to go back to tribe times to then like now where we are, like if you look at that, that's a huge like movement in like the buildings. Like you said before, coming from if you live in the country, then you come into the city, like people will notice that a lot. So it's where we've been and where we've come. And I think sometimes I know myself, like people would say I grew up in the country back from where I was in Melbourne, but it wasn't really country. It was just
Suburbia.
But it was, I suppose it was it felt like country when I was younger, because it was a country feel. But then coming into like even moving up to Queensland, even though I had this strong pull to be here, it's completely different. And then that's even like, that brings us into like the sound of a place, or does the earth call you? Does a certain places call you? And that comes down to frequency as well, having that feeling or pull that you need to go somewhere comes back to the frequency of the land that's pulling you or that's calling you. And I've had that quite a few times, like moving up to the Gold Coast, going to Egypt. It made no freaking sense. It made no logical sense. Like, why do I need to go to Egypt? And it's not till sometimes you get there that you understand why. But that's a whole nother tangent.
Well, your rep systems, like I believe that the more in line your auditory, your kinesthetic, your visual, your cognition, your auditory digital, like in NLP language, the more, so instead of having a primary one of those, the more that they are all available to you, the more your intuition is on.
Yes.
And that's what the work that I do with people is to get them more fully in tune with their intuition, using the senses to do that. So.
Yeah, and it can change as well. I know when I did NLP, mine were all quite even. However, now I know my auditory is quite higher, which is, being quite sensitive to sound as well.
Yeah. Funnily enough, your surname is Bell.
Yes.
Is there anything we haven't spoken about that you would like to speak about?
I would just encourage people to really start being more conscious of what they're allowing into their world. Start noticing the sounds, start seeing how they affect your state and your body as well. That's a great start. Even for those, like I talk about the beauty industry only because I've been in it for so long, but it's a huge one in salons that I think is so overlooked, is the noise of the hairdryers, the noise of the constant hustle and bustle in a salon is, and I know that you can't avoid that, but it's then what are you doing to then, bring your nervous system back, or have moments within the salon where you can come back and kind of like tune out, bring yourself back to center before going back out. And this is what helps you with clients as well, especially when you're working in front of mirrors. That's a whole other discussion, but energetically. But yeah, I would just encourage people to really start being conscious of where they're allowing sound in their world, like just being conscious of it. Like, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. And if you are interested in learning more about sound, like I'd love to have you like send me a DM on my Instagram and that. I love having conversations around this stuff. And yeah, I will be launching my sound healing certification very soon, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, hit me up in Instagram if you have any questions. You can find me at, I think it's Kylie Bell _love artistry now. I did just change it.
We'll put it into the show notes as well.
But yeah, just if there is any inkling or if any of this resonates with you, or even just on a mum basis, like talking about how that you can utilize sound in the house as well with your children. Just send me a DM. Love to have conversations.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here and being on the Life by 8 podcast. Thank you for listening. And as always, because of you, I am. Have a great rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will talk to you soon.